Okay, we are now live. I'm here today with Donna Woodwell. Donna is our managing editor and one of our amazing astrologers that we have on board. And we are talking eclipses. So for those of you just joining the conversation, we have opened up the forum or opened up a place where we can talk about the Great American Eclipse that's happening this summer and really just understand what it is and be here to use it as a opportunity to come together and use it as an opportunity to transform. So there's a lot of amazing material around this, and Donna has been really leading the charge for us. And so she's here again today. We have been collecting your questions from the Facebook group. And so we're going to go through a lot of your questions today. And also, I wanted to just start, for those of you that have just joined the conversation, I wanted to give an opportunity for you to understand why we're having this conversation, why it's such a big deal, and why we wanted to open up this community so that we could come together and learn together and grow together. So Donna, can you tell us, you're the one who introduced this whole entire concept to me, so can you tell us why we care? What's going on with this Great American Eclipse in the summer?
Why we care? What a great question. I love that serendipity brought us the name the Eclipse Portal, because that's, traditionally speaking, exactly what eclipses are. They are portals. They wrap the globe on a regular basis, and they bring evolutionary transformation to our collective. And just like a portal, a door opens and it closes, things come in, things go out, and that's the process of transformation that we're talking about. For something new to be created, something else has to leave, but that's just a natural process. It's a process that everywhere on Earth over 1,000-year period will have an eclipse over its head. A solar eclipse. But this one is special, that's coming up in the summertime, because it's the first one that's been over the entire United States in nearly 100 years. And so it's been 40 since we've had a total eclipse in the United States at all. And so this is a real collective opportunity, the first one of the information age, where we are so wired and connected to be able to experience this collective journey of transformation, and we can do it with some consciousness. We know it's coming in advance. We can prepare ourselves mentally, spiritually, emotionally to be able to hold the highest vibration and use this opportunity for something amazing.
Yes, and that is what we are all about here at Astrology Hub. So that is why this community exists. That is why we are wanting to really have the conversation, because it's about bringing conscious awareness to it and doing what we can to just really make sure that we're showing up in the highest way that we can. We have a list of questions. I actually have a question for you about karma.
Sure.
So can we talk about how eclipses activate karma, or what is the relationship or link between eclipses and karma?
That's a really complicated question, because karma is a word that comes out of Eastern philosophy. It basically means the seeds, in a sense. Seeds are the fruit of an action, and they will spring up later. And so in that sense, eclipses can create sensitive degrees in our chart that, when triggered, can produce the flowering of those karmic seeds in whatever form that they take. Karma, we tend to think of it in the West as kind of a synonym for like sin, and it's a bad thing. But karma is really more of a neutral thing. It's just it's stuff that happens by consequence. So yes, eclipses can trigger karma, because that's just the evolutionary process.
Okay, awesome. All right, so for everybody joining in, thank you so much. It's so great to see you here. If you can give us a like, that would be awesome, because when you do that, it actually makes this show up for more people in their feed. So we'll have more of our group joining us. And if you would like to make comments, you can do so below the video, and I'm paying attention to them. If you have questions, we can actually answer some more questions potentially. We have some great questions from the group already. And just so you know, just a reminder, you can always post your questions. We have a Q&A graphic on the page. So when you think of questions throughout the week, just go in and post them there. And then we gather all those questions, and that's what this call is for. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to take some of the questions that have come in this week. So the first one is from Faith. Faith Rainey asks, let's say we find a conjunction of the August eclipse to a natal planet. What is the effect? Does the eclipse always mean a transformation of some sort? And does it mean shadow work? So I can remind you of those questions as we go, Donna, if you need to be reminded.
Awesome. All right. So last week we talked about eclipses in general. So this week we figured we'd talk a little about how you make them personal. And so eclipses, just to give a refresher from what we said last week, they come in different flavors. They have total and partial. So the total ones are a little bit more potent than the partial ones. They come in north node and south node flavors. North brings things to us, south node releases things as things move away, and they come in solar and lunar. And solar is the conscious full self-awareness, lunar is the subconscious in the shadowy intuitive realm. So we take those flavors and we use them to interpret how eclipses will impact our lives. Do eclipses always bring some kind of transformation? Well, somewhat depends on whether they hit one of your personal planets. They're going to be much more powerful. If they're just in a house and not interacting with anything, they're going to be a lot more general. And the flavor is going to affect how they impact you. So plus they take months to unfurl their activation, so to speak. So unless you're keeping a journal, you may not link up. Oh yeah.
I literally just grabbed my journal as you were talking.
All astrologers should be keeping journals. It really helps with your astrology. But unless you keep a journal and keep track of these things, you may not realize that it's the eclipse that was related to something that was triggered several months or years later.
Interesting. Okay.
So get back to her question, which was, how is it always transformative? Yes, but sometimes it has a delayed reaction. Is it always shadow work? Not necessarily. That kind of gets into what you describe as shadow work. If what's on the other side of the door that you're crossing into or out of is considered a shadow for you because you're not aware of it, then yes. Is it always dark and scary? No. Sometimes it's powerful and beautiful, and it's always exactly what your soul needs.
Okay, so and sorry if I missed this, but I don't think you answered the first part. So let's say we find a conjunction of the August eclipse to a natal planet.
Okay, so there are different levels of power to eclipses, as we just said. So you can think of an eclipse as if you ever stare to the light that's been really, really bright, and you close your eyes and there's this sort of after image glow that persists for a while, but then sort of starts to fade away. That's exactly what eclipses do to our charts. They are like super amazingly bright new moons and full moons. And so they leave an after image of their effect in our chart, which astrologers call a sensitive degree. And when that sensitive degree is with a personal planet, it magnifies the activities governed by that planet tremendously so that you have like a spotlight put on it for some time to come. So that means if it's your sun, that's how you lead or what you feel called to do, your vocation, how you make choices, all the things related to the sun. If it's say Venus, it's all the things related to Venus, how you love and what's important to you, how your relationships and what you desire. So you can go through all the planets like that, but just think of it as a spotlight on the activities of that particular planet for as much as 3 to 6 years, depending on the length of the eclipse.
Okay.
Just fantastic,
great.
Actually.
Okay, so and just that leads me to this whole question leads me to a gift that we're offering this week, which is the Great American Eclipse Transformation Blueprint, which helps you find the eclipse in your chart. So which house it's falling in for you. And it also gives you essential questions that you can use to ensure that this eclipse is one that is a opportunity for positive transformation for you. So you're going to get essential questions you can ask, and you're going to get a little a beautiful, actually, graphic that helps you find where the eclipse actually falls in your chart. So check that out. The link is in the chat, and you can, that's a free gift from us at Astrology Hub. So just go ahead and take it. You can take advantage of that opportunity right now if you want.
And that's the thing with eclipses. If you don't have a personal planet conjunct the eclipse point, it may not be as personally transformative for the concrete, kickable events in your life, but because astrology, as Amanda likes to say, is the cosmic script that we're all working with, it's always an opportunity for you to evaluate some area of your life, and that's through the house that it happens to occupy in your chart. So looking at these questions is always a good thing. And as the eclipses go around on their 19-year cycle, guess what? You're going to get to go through all of the questions over 19 years. So you take the opportunities when they're brought up, and by the end of 19 years, you will have gone through an entire cycle.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So we have a lot of friends joining us, Donna. We have a great group here joining. I just want to say hello to Adrienne, who said hello to us, and then also to Anne, who is asking a question. So she says, I think it was mentioned that this summer eclipse will be in the North Node. I'm still having a hard time visualizing what a node is. Can you explain it in layman's terms?
Okay. You can imagine the solar system as like a hula hoop going around and around, and the sun is the one doing the hooping. Okay, but if you imagine all the planets are on a flat plane, we call that plane the ecliptic. It's where the sun and all the planets appear to move around through the night sky. Well, the moon circles us; it doesn't circle the sun. And because the moon circles us, its orbital plane is just tilted a little bit sideways. You can see that? So it's not like this, it's like that compared to the sun. And that 5-degree difference, if you can imagine two hula hoops together that are 5 degrees offset, there's going to be 2 places where those hula hoops cross each other. It's just physics. So those 2 places where those 2 hula hoops cross are called the nodes of the moon. And one of them, it's crossing and going above the other hula hoop, and the other one, it's crossing and going below the other hula hoop. Okay, and that's just the North Node and the South Node. So from the point of view of the people who invented astrology, North meant coming towards us because they were in the Northern Hemisphere, and South meant going away from us because that was leaving to the Southern Hemisphere. So North Node eclipses are symbolic of bringing things toward us because it's the moon and the sun conjunct the North Node that bringing things in. And when they are a South Node eclipse, it's the stuff being sent away and leaving to go off on other adventures. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Okay. It does, yeah. And so hello to everybody who's joining us. I just wanted to say hello to Natalie.
One little thing. If you are like flipping through the NASA pages, there's a secret to understanding this immediately. The astronomers, if the eclipse name ends with an odd number, it's a North Node eclipse. So 145 by definition is a North Node eclipse. If it's an even number like 140, it's a South Node eclipse. So you can always tell just by what astronomers are saying.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, thanks to everybody who's joining us and saying hello. It's so nice to see you in here, Kathy and Bonnie and everyone. All right, so I just wanted to, let's go to the next question. This one is from Mayora Hartman. Will you elaborate a bit on the difference between a solar and lunar eclipse hitting a point like the ascendant or the natal sun?
Okay, so generally speaking in astrology, the sun has to do with the parts of us that we can see. So our conscious awareness, how we make decisions, what we will for our lives, the part of our brain that we can see moving and talking. The moon, on the other hand, the lady of the night, is all about the subconscious parts of us. It's the things that we do by habit. It's our emotional reactions to things. It's the stuff that our families and what we've sort of just picked up from our cultural inheritance. So a a solar eclipse is impacting the solar side of us, the yang side of us. The lunar eclipse is impacting the yin side of us. And that's where the main elements of transformation that are happening. So if it's a solar eclipse to one of your planets, it's going to be the conscious way that you express those planets that's being transformed. If it's a lunar eclipse to one of your planets, it's going to be the subconscious habitual ways that you transform, that you relate to those planets that's being transformed, which is actually a very powerful way to think about it, because that means all the bases are covered over time. And you have to, because you have to work on the day side of you and the night side of you.
That's that brilliant divine curriculum at play again. I love that explanation though, Don. I haven't heard that before. So the solar impact is on the yang side of us, the lunar is on the yin side. That really clarifies it. It makes it simple to understand. Okay, from Mindy, how will this eclipse affect someone if it is conjunct their ascendant, or does it need to be right on it? Will it also carry special impact on other planets and asteroids that are at 28 degrees of other signs?
Okay, so she's talking about the Great American Eclipse, which is at 28 degrees of Leo. Traditionally speaking, eclipses are straight line events. And when I say straight line events, it means it's the sun and the moon with the earth in between. And they're all lined up in a row. And so the strongest influence of the eclipse were things along that line. So that would be, in the case of this Great American Eclipse, 28 Leo and a couple degrees on each side, and 28 Aquarius and a couple degrees on each side. Eclipse orbs are very tight traditionally, so they're 3 degrees or less. And they would never have worried about things that were sextile to the eclipse degree or trine the eclipse degree. They weren't so energetically tied into the alignment. So I wouldn't worry about just anything randomly that is at 28 degrees. Look for really tight aspects to the 28 Leo Aquarius line on all your planets, and also the angles, the ascendant and the midheaven, as she just asked. The ascendant was considered the most important degree in a chart because it determined how all the houses got played out, and to have an eclipse attached to your ascendant is a really personal message for you about moving into an era of transformation in your life, which is awesome.
Okay.
We all have to grow. We have to shed our skin and go on to the next thing, you know?
Okay. All right. Well, I know that was specific to degrees, but we do have a gift that we're offering. It's in the chat. It's the Great American Eclipse Transformation Blueprint. It helps you find which house the eclipse is falling in your chart. It also gives you essential questions to navigate this particular eclipse. So questions that you can ask yourself to really utilize this opportunity for transformation. So check that out. It's in the chat and it's available for you for free. Okay, let's go to the next question. This is from Stephanie. She's wondering, how much influence would an eclipse tightly squaring personal planets or angles of the chart have versus conjunct and opposing, which are traditionally considered significant?
Yeah, so she's referring to what I just said, that usually it's in alignment. The exception to that rule might be those squares. Now, if this is 180 degrees apart, the square is right at the midpoint of the two of them. And midpoints of eclipses would be called at the bendings of the eclipse. And because it makes such a powerful energetic bridge between the 2 points, I would check them out in your chart. Traditionally speaking, there's not nearly as much written about them, but this is our opportunity as a collective to explore this. So if you have planets that would be at the square point would be like 28 Taurus and 28 Scorpio. And I'm really curious about this question too, because my chart ruler is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. So I will have to give everyone a report for how it worked out for me, and we can trade notes.
That's what I was just going to say. You know, when you were referring earlier to the fact that, yes, we had a solar eclipse like this 40 years ago, but we didn't have technology the way we have it, and we didn't have the opportunity to communicate with each other the way that we do now. So after the eclipse, it will be really interesting to stay in
Oh
touch
yeah.
and actually share, how it's affecting everybody's lives.
This is how you learn astrology. Yes, astrology was an idealized system for how things could make this perfect pattern, but really it's us having this conversation and sharing how did it affect you? Here's how it affected me, and that we all learn and deepen our astrological practice.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's go to the next question from Laura. She says, what influence does an eclipse have in a solar return chart?
Okay, so as I just said, eclipses make sensitive degrees, and that's a great word for it because it really is a little point that can be triggered by transits that are happening, and anytime you have a personal planet aligned from birth, but also whether you're having a solar return, if it has something near that degree, it could be incredibly potent during the course of the year. If you have a progressed chart or a perfected chart or a solar arc chart or all the other ways that we move a chart in time, if you have something hitting that degree, it can bring about, it can excite some kind of transformation effect on the planets that are involved.
Okay. All right, fantastic. So Pat says, or is asking, the squares have a tight orb also?
Well, I would say the squares to an eclipse would have an even tighter orb than the eclipse itself.
Okay.
So yeah, traditionally, because think about it. Seeing an eclipse only happens once every 6 months for a reason, because the moon and the sun have to be perfectly aligned with the earth. Otherwise, we don't see an eclipse at all. And then to see the total eclipse, you have to be in this like little 70-mile wide corridor on the face of the planet, or you don't see them aligned. So usually when you have them, they would speak to you profoundly, but you wouldn't look past like a degree or two. That was just too wide for the impact to be completely personal.
Okay. All right, Donna, thank you. Hi, Kathy. Just saying hi to some of the people that have just joined us. We are doing our Facebook Live Q&A session with Donna Woodwell. So we've been gathering questions all throughout the week underneath the Q&A graphic, which has been pinned to the top of our page, our little private Facebook group here. So if you do have questions throughout the week, go ahead and put them in that post and we will be answering them. I believe our next live Q&A session with Donna is actually on Monday. So just a few days. So if you do have questions after you're watching this, if you're watching us later, just go ahead and post them under the Q&A graphic and we will be addressing them on Monday, and hopefully all of you can join us then. Okay, so let's go to the next question, which is from Mary. Mary is wondering, can you get into prenatal eclipses and the kind of information we can gain by looking at the relevant ones for our own chart?
Ooh, I like this question. Okay, so anyone who feels like they're being left out of this eclipse and it's not affecting them so powerfully and they're sad, guess what? You were born after an eclipse. Everyone was. So sometime in the 6 months before your birth, a pair of eclipses happened, and sometimes more than a pair, but at least one solar eclipse and at least one lunar eclipse. And they are in your chart somewhere. So you can get an ephemeris and look them up or use astrology software, and those are sensitive degrees in your chart for transformation for your entire life because it's stamped on you. So if I challenge you all, maybe this can be like homework or spiritual practice for our eclipse group, is to find those eclipses. Maybe we can figure out a way to help you do that. That would be awesome. To look them up in your own chart and then see how transits to those degrees by planets from transiting or progressions or solar arcs or solar returns or anything else have brought about changes in your whole life. It's a great way to understand eclipse energies.
So we can go back and track
exactly
what major things happen at different times.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, very good. I just wanted to mention to those of you that just joined, we do have a gift that we're offering you this week, which is the Great American Eclipse Transformation Blueprint. Go ahead and check it out. The link is above this video and then also in the chat. And this is going to help you find the eclipse in your chart, also giving you essential questions to ask yourself so you can use this eclipse as an opportunity to transform. All right, so go ahead and check that out. And we're going to go to our next question from Kathy. She says, I would love it if Donna would speak about how the Leo eclipse affects the U.S. chart. I'm using the Sibley chart. My question now is, how does it affect the American people with the U.S. moon of 27 Aquarius directly opposing the Great Eclipse?
Yeah, the Great American Eclipse is aptly named, not just because it goes over the United States, but because it is so integrated into the United States' chart. So it's Saros cycle 145, and the first eclipse of 145, the degree is exactly opposite the natal sun for the United States. Now, she mentioned the Sibley chart. That's the chart for the afternoon of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So it's a July 4th chart. So on July 4th, sun was at 13 degrees of Cancer, and the first eclipse of the entire series was at 13 degrees of Capricorn. So there's that one connection right across from the sun. Remember, we said eclipse is straight line, really important. Okay, this eclipse in particular, the Great American Eclipse, is happening at 28 Leo, which is exactly opposite the U.S. sun at 27 Aquarius in the Sibley chart. So there you go. It's touching off the sun and it's touching off the moon, and that's the two yin and yangs of the United States. So what does this mean for all of us collectively? It is certainly an opportunity for the United States to collectively work through a transformative process. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a healthy thing to put us in a place of reflective. Who do we want to be as a people? What are we putting out into the world? What have we created for ourselves? And is this the road we want to go down? And the ramifications of that could be enormous for the long-term future of the United States. Does that mean something crazy is going to happen this summer? No, not necessarily. Does that mean this is the beginning of longer-term transformations in the way we think about things? Very likely. But I think anybody who's been watching the news lately in the United States knows that perhaps this is a good time for us to do some deep soul searching. And so that the fact that I've been watching this eclipse come for a couple years and wondering what was going to happen. I really do think we have set ourselves up to be conscious in recognizing that we have work to do. And that's the beauty of this. It's a solar eclipse. It's an eclipse of conscious thought. It's not the lunar eclipse that's we're working with here. It's not us being forced to have our subconscious running away with us. It's us taking an active, aware step for where we want to go and visioning what that new future could become and doing it together. So I'm very excited.
So Donna, if you had your dream world come true, how would you propose that we do that? You know, how would we take this opportunity and use it together?
We all need eclipse consciousness raising. You know, in the 60s, where they would have small groups of people coming together and talking in order to raise everyone's awareness of what was happening. This is what we need now. And thank goodness for places like Astrology Hub that's creating the framework to have these conversations. It's a collective conversation. It means doing our own work. It means connecting to our spirit bodies and grounding and centering and raising our own mental energies by thinking more. I don't want to just say think positive, it'll be okay, but what we think really does affect how we experience reality. And that's a fact. That science can even prove that. And then to do it in a group and do it together. And if we can learn how to do that, we can begin to vision something collectively. And I had a magic wand that I would be rooting for that, the positive vision, because without one, how will we know what we want to manifest in the world?
So I would love to start that conversation too. I'm sure some of you hold a vision for what we could do collectively. And if you do have some ideas of things that we can do as a collective to really influence the outcome of our country, really, with our thoughts and with our vision and with our love, I'd love to hear from you in chat. If you have any ideas of ways that we can come together in positive forums to really affect positive change.
I mean, isn't that the full potential of astrology? Yeah. To be able to help us understand what's being asked of us and put the highest possible way of thinking about it. I mean, as astrologers, we are the astral priests and priestesses. We have a legacy. We have a heritage of working to bring the vision from the astral down to the physical and speak it for the collective. And we need all of us to be activated right now. This is an activation portal, if I want to use that word. This is saying, hey, people, wake up. You've been doing all this work. Now, time to like put it into practice.
That's beautiful. I just saw your entire quote on a meme that we'll post in the group because that's perfect. So this is an activation portal for us. All right. Let's see. Any other questions from the group? We can take one more question if you have one. I'm going to look here. I love this from Sunny, who says, with 0 degrees Pisces Venus, noticing a greater compassion and genuine human kindness, replacing anger and quick words, which may be unhappy. Now there's an innate urge to be gentle and have mercy. Is this because 28 degrees is near my 0 degrees? Thank you. My age is 72 years and new. Thank you again. I love that.
Maybe it's really hard to get really specific about some of these things because it's related to our own personal experience. And I think that the wellspring of compassion is lining up to support us in this process. I don't think, isn't there a saying, Amanda, where you're never given more than you can actually handle?
Yeah.
And so this eclipse is not something that we should be afraid of. If it's happening, that means that collectively we have gotten to the point that we can handle it. And that's awesome. That means that all the folks that have been talking about for years that humanity's consciousness is evolving and that we're getting to a greater point of sophistication. Well, guess what? If we've been evolving, what did you think was going to happen? That we were just going to continue to run around with our training wheels? We're not. Eventually, we have to put those skills into some kind of use and see what we can do with them. We have to fly. If we're going to be given wings, we eventually have to test them by jumping out of the nest and fly. And that's what we have the potential to do in this moment in time. It's the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. How ironic is that?
Wow. Well, we could just rename this summer the Summer of Love too, if we want. I mean, I remember you saying on one of our Facebook Lives a few weeks ago that this is a opportunity for us to choose love or fear. And it's like this kind of really like strong line in the sand where we get to choose, and how we choose has long-lasting effects for us personally and collectively. So
absolutely. I mean, how often does the choice that you make matter for so long? And this matters. And, as one of my magical teachers used to say, but how do I do that? But how? At some point in time, you just do it. You choose love. You have a choice. And this is another portal, another doorway. Do you want to walk through the doorway of fear? Or are you going to walk through the doorway of love? And part of that's just letting go of what you're afraid of and saying, guess what? I'm just going to choose love anyway. And move forward in that spirit of positivity and hope. And that's why we have the lunar eclipse right before the solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is where we let go of our fear reactions so that when we get to the solar eclipse on the north node, we can bring in something new. So we've got this like 2-week window in there where we're going to be letting go of the past so that we can be prepared to bring in that new energy.
Yeah.
And what an amazing gift.
It is a gift. And just so you know, we have something really amazing brewing for that very potent time, the 14 days between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. We're going to have something really amazing that we can all share together. So that's in the works, and I'll definitely be telling you about that as soon as we have more details. But I wanted to also just acknowledge Harmony Cheese answer to my question that I said earlier. She says, being that the eclipse is in Leo, self-awareness and being true to ourselves upon having that self-awareness is one of the most potent ways I can see to utilize the energy of the eclipse. So totally agree with that, Harmony. Okay, well, I think that we're going to wrap up. I just want to mention that a couple things. Next week, we'll be doing Facebook Live on Monday at 12:30 Pacific time. That will be just for this Astrology Eclipse portal. If you have friends that you think would like to be in on this conversation, go ahead and invite them to join the Astrology Eclipse portal. You can just do that. There's a little section on the right-hand side where it says invite friends. We also have the Great American Eclipse Transformation Blueprint available to you. This is our free gift to you. So the link is both above the video and below the video. You can check that out now. And then we're also doing a Facebook Live on Thursday with astrologer Sam Reynolds. That's going to be on our Astrology Hub page, but we'll definitely replay it here in the Astrology Eclipse portal. But Sam Reynolds is going to be talking about eclipses. We want to bring in a lot of different voices so that you all have a lot of different perspectives that you can use as you're going into this big Great American Eclipse time in August. All right, so it's been so amazing to share this space with you. Thank you, Donna, for being here and sharing your wisdom. Thanks to all of you for joining, and I cannot wait to see you again next week. Aloha.